All right, Joah, welcome to the
Hey, Br-
BlockHash podcast. How you doing?
hey, Brandon. I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. So where are you from?
I'm originally American, but I'm living in Lisbon, Portugal now.
What's in Lisbon?
Uh, a really vibrant crypto community that's growing every day here. But we have the ETH conference is coming, the Solana conference is coming, um, and they're choosing Lisbon because it's tax free.
Oh, is that the main reason? Like that you wanted to be in Lisbon, or was it personal stuff, or was it
It's just you find balance here in life, and then
okay?
it's an added benefit that they don't tax crypto. That got it on the list, and then the quality of life is what made me choose it.
What do you mean when you say they don't tax crypto? Like if you buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin, have a cap gain, they don't tax you, or
Yeah,
there's just no kind of tax in general?
yeah. If you have a cap game, they don't tax you.
That's interesting. So do they like
Yeah,
consider it currency or something, or they
they
just
can exactly. They listed it as currency, and because and they have for I think 3 or 4 years already. Um, and since they listed as currency, you don't tax capital gains on currency. So
Oh, that's interesting. What do you think of that? Do
mhm.
you have an opinion on it?
I think that's the way it should be. To be honest, it's
Hmm.
I do believe in regulation. I think that'll help mass adoption and things like that. But when it comes to taxes, I don't think a cap gains tax, not even just on crypto. I just think in general. Um, I don't like it. It's you've already got taxed on the money you produced. Why are you getting taxed on a risk you're taking?
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Mhm.
We actually this week we just had Bitcoin Day. We had El Salvador make it legal tender. We had I think Ukraine also come out and do the same thing. So it's a very
Mhm.
exciting week for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it's historical for this to happen. It's a move in the right direction, and there's an old economist called Frederick Hayek.
Hmm.
In the 80s, he called for the denationalization of money because money hasn't evolved due to government. And I love that. And this is the first sign of denationalization of money.
Do you think Bitcoin's a good form of money? A lot of people kind of debate that back and forth, given the fact that it has tons of volatility and that maybe it's better suited as a store of value or as just an asset,
Yeah,
being a little bit slow and clunky. But what do you
I
think?
I don't. To be honest, I don't know if it's Bitcoin, but I do believe it's a crypto. I think Bitcoin was a much needed inroad into looking at things differently. Like every time we had bailouts, like the answer shouldn't be give them more money to lose, or quantitative easing where you just print more. Like we needed to fix the system and not just keep putting band-aids on it. And I think crypto opened their eyes to that, or Bitcoin opened their eyes to it. Whether it will become the currency, I don't know. But I do see it as a store of value.
Yeah, I see it as a store of value too. I'm having a hard time seeing it as a currency still, at least for now. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of efforts to fix that. Lightning Network and different layer solutions to speed it up and be able to transact a lot faster. So maybe in the future it will become more of a currency. But I don't know. I see it
Mhm.
kind of as a store of value at least right now.
Yeah, me too.
Anyways, Joa, tell me a bit more about you. I want to know about your background. I want to know what you kind of have done, from a marketing perspective, and how or why you wanted to be into crypto and blockchain and got to Aldrin.
Yeah, I've been working in marketing for over 20 years. Became kind of known because I started to do a 3 year study based on how people make decisions, um, and that led me to create a different way of marketing. Right, and the most simplest way to explain it is I realized it wasn't about marketing at people; it was mattering to people. Right, and that took me down a road of trying to understand, how did religions form? How did it go from like one person to something huge? Or how did Martin Luther King amass so many followers, or the Black Lives Matter movement? It's about creating momentum, right? And for that, I realized that you need to matter to a very select group of people and then have a bigger, broader mission that will attract everyone else. Um, and that's what I kind of apply to Dove Real Beauty. it was the first execution of that result. We then did many other campaigns. We helped Domino's Pizza. We helped Airbnb. The most recent success I have are the Mexican beer brands for Anheuser-Busch. All three of them are now in the top 10 most valuable beer brands, where before only one of them was in like seventh, and now it's first place, which is Corona. So by having this different outlook and understanding that at the end of the day, the only thing people care about is how do you help me? And you can help people in a lot of ways besides what it does functional, right? So like a Mercedes is way more than just a car. It's a symbol to show that I made it in the world when you're driving down the highway, right? That's an added benefit that doesn't get talked about, but Mercedes does a good job of showing that through its advertising. So that's what I try to do. Just try to help people understand what the benefits are of something, and not just like push my product on the people.
So how did you help beer companies market the added benefit for people?
Yeah, I mean, one I'm really proud of that's not super known, but it's it's number 6, I think, most valuable beer brand is Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
So Victoria is a Mexican beer brand. There was something happened in Mexico, which is if you go into Mexico, you used to only see white people on the advertisement, right? Mm-hmm. And Victoria kind of led the movement of changing that, right? That we need to include all Mexicans. And the reason we did that is the beer is actually a dark and light beer mixed, just like the Mexican people. So that's what we looked at as a functional benefit of the product. Functionally, it's a mixed beer, right? Emotionally, it fights for the mixed race, which is the Mexicans, right? Although typically we say mixed is black and white, but in this scenario, in Mexico, you have every shade of the human race in Mexico. Mm-hmm. So we created something that was a famous white actress doing an ad, and she started to complain that she was doing an ad with a black actor, and that's not done in Mexico. And we filmed it and put it up as if it was real, like really happening. She got a ton of hate for 3 days, and then after that, we showed that this is actually a stunt to show how ridiculous it is that we don't show all Mexicans, and all Mexicans aren't represented in Mexico. And then from there, we did a lot of other things, but it was really to defend the modern Mexican. Not every Mexican wants to try to make it to the U.S. as is portrayed. Mexico, Mexico City is my second favorite city after Lisbon. Anyone who knows me, any of my friends know I talk about Mexico City all the time. It's an amazing city. A lot of people don't want to leave. A lot of people do want to stay. It is incredible. So we actually created something that was called it translates to Mexico's the shit, but it's not. It's not a curse word in Mexican, right? Mm-hmm. Mexico es chingón. And it is, right? And so we mm-hmm. defended that and moved that movement forward. And that's what kind of gets brand love. And people start to like your brand because of things you do for them, right? And mm-hmm. that's one of the things we did for them.
So this style of marketing is helping people, I guess, relate more to like a company's product and stuff like that, and feel more like it's, part of them or part of their culture rather than, have some of these differences. I see them all the time. Like even here in Colombia, mm-hmm. I see ads when I turn on the TV and I see a commercial for some Colombian product. I swear all the actors, they're as American as they can be. And I'm just like, but they're selling Colombian products. Like, so like, how are people going to relate to that? How are going to people want to buy that?
Yeah.
I have noticed that.
The funny thing is when I asked why they're all white, because I noticed as soon as I got off the airplane and I asked, why are they all white people? And they're like, oh, because it's aspirational. I'm like, how can that possibly be aspirational? All Latin America is the same. They all do it. So yeah, it's about creating movements and what a brand represents. Brands have a ton of power because they have a ton of money, mm-hmm. right? And it's been used to just push product instead of just being used to get people to love your brand. And that's the difference, right? And I think there's a huge difference between the two.
Yeah, I think people would want the latter, though. I mean, would you want like a loyal customer that's going to keep coming back to your brand that feels like they relate to it, or do you just want to shove something down their throat? Not to bash on any companies for ever doing that, but I mean, like, don't you want a returning customer? Like, I feel like the latter is a much better way to advertise.
Yeah, I mean, what I always say is you need to think of your business as a for-profit charity, right, and not as pushing soap. So for like Dove, right, today women feel a lot more comfortable with whatever size they are and feel comfortable in their skin. That was a movement that really started in 2000. Didn't used to be like that, right? And I think Dove really created that. So every time you buy a soap bar, subconsciously you know you're contributing to that change, right? And that's what generated a lot of love for Dove. Um, so in the certain aspect, you can think of it as a for-profit charity, and that's how you gain power and lead the way. Right? And that's kind of why I went to Aldrin. I think this space kind of needs a brand like that, and it doesn't have one at the moment.
Yeah, so coming to Aldrin and taking this expertise you have, how do you feel that you're able to help apply that to this space and with
Mhm.
Aldrin, and like what's the goal?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of other industries, right? So if you think of computers, you'll think of Apple as kind of like leading the way. And what Apple did is they created a easier to use interface, the graphical interface. Although Xerox did the same, except Apple actually added more powerful features to it as well, right? It wasn't just a copy of what was available and made it easier. It was stronger. And they kind of led that way. So it used to be nerdy to own a computer. Apple kind of made it cool. When you think of sports, Nike targets a lot of the inner city kids to show them how to get out of the hood, right? Just
Hmm.
work at it, work really hard. That's who they mean the most to, right? And if you think of crypto, who's the leader in crypto? Like who's the or what's the brand you think of when you say it's leading? I think of Bitcoin because it was first. So you
Hmm.
have first mover advantage, but you don't have a brand. Like there's no brand except for you think of a Michael Saylor, or you think of the Winklevoss twins, or you think of some of the influencers. You think of people. You never think of a brand when it comes to crypto. And I kind of want to change that. I want to make Aldrin's as synonymous with crypto or with DeFi as Apple is with computers. Because not because we have the next best thing on the planet, which I think we're creating, to be honest, but because we're actually providing an added benefit to the community besides just being an exchange or a automated market maker or whatever other features that we had. It's what other benefit are we doing for the community?
Yeah, so is that the primary reason that you guys rebranded, or did you show up after that, or because I know you guys rebranded
Yeah,
from CCAI?
yeah, it's funny because even during the interview process, I asked Hisham, the CEO, um, "Are you opening to rebranding?" Which was one of my big criteria because my whole thing is how do we get mass adoption. How do we make it so simple that DeFi is as easy to use as a bank, right? We all know the people who understand DeFi know the advantages of DeFi over a bank, right? And there's many of them. The one thing banks do better than DeFi is the user experience, right? So what my whole mission was, and the reason I actually reached out to CCAI was, what's your mission? It seemed like they were in line with what I was about to create. And I said, hey, I might be the guy you're looking for to help you. And the first thing you need to do is you can't have a name like cryptocurrencies.ai because it just sounds
It's
um,
too long.
it's too complicated. It seems daunting of a task to get into it if I don't know the space, right? So, like again, I'm going to use Apple. You think of Apple. What's Apple's have to do with computers? Nothing. But it just seems like something easy to do, right? So when we got Aldrin, it was the same idea: is how do we create something that's um, doesn't seem complicated, is inviting. I want to check it out. There's a backstory to it, and started to create the brand. So the first order of business in the first month that I joined CCAI, we rebranded to Aldrin and redid everything.
What was the decision making behind choosing the name Aldrin?
Well, Aldrin comes from Buzz Aldrin, right? The
Hmm.
second astronaut on the planet, and he has a really funny quote. He says Neil Armstrong was the first one on the moon, but I was the first one to pee my pants on the moon, right? Um, and he just had a humor about stuff. Although he he was the second man on the moon. He was on the same mission, the same person. And so Aldrin wasn't really about, the typical thing that crypto people say, we're going to the moon. It was just the adventure of, doing something that's never been done, but having a sense of humor about it and being invited, right?
Hmm.
Like, well, I think a lot of people with if Neil Armstrong was still alive would feel intimidated going up to him. Buzz Aldrin seems like your dad. Like you can go up to him and talk to him and no problem because he just has that personality, and that's kind of what we wanted to emulate. And because of all the moon boy lingo that goes on in
Hmm.
crypto, that's why we kind of went into that realm to look for a name that might be fitting for us.
Yeah, it's very synonymous, huh? Being able to use Buzz Aldrin, everyone's in space always talking about going to the moon, moonshot.
Hmm.
Price is going to the moon one day, rockets to the moon. So yeah, it kind of fits a little bit. It's good marketing there.
Yeah, we're actually going to show why it's not synonymous with a moonshot for us, or talking about going to the moon. It's going to be a representation to everyone who just believed. If you think about when we went to space, it was a time when the whole world had one dream. Like everyone was kind of like, "Oh my God, we're going to go into outer space, or we're going to go to
Hmm.
the moon," and we all dreamt together, and we kind of lost that. And that's kind of what we want to bring back, but to the financial realm. And that was our big push. It wasn't the moon stuff, although I'm sure there'll be tons of memes created. We've already been called Buzz a few times by some people on Twitter, so they're getting it. It's working.
That's good. That's good. If it gets people to think about it and
Mm-hmm.
even poke fun a bit of it, and play around with the naming and stuff, that's good. It's just creating engagement. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing to have. What kind of things are you planning to use, in terms of marketing tools for Aldrin going forward? Because I know as a trading platform, there's a lot of competition out there, especially in crypto. There's a lot of different types of
Mm-hmm.
trading platforms. Is there a certain angle that you guys want to take, or a certain marketing strategy you want to use?
Yeah. I can't tell you the channel, but
Sure.
you've seen the recent price movement. I mean, I think we're up, I think almost 300% in 30
Hmm.
days, something like that. Um, and I'm going where no one else is going, right? We already used one platform that's extremely popular. There's not a single. There's no conversation around crypto on it at all. And I think what a lot of brands forget is they focus so much on Twitter. And I use this analogy a lot. Going on Twitter to advertise or talk about crypto is like trying to scream in a nightclub, right? Very few people are going to hear it. If you go into the library and scream, you're going to get everyone's attention. And guess what? People that are in the library also go to nightclubs, right?
Hmm.
So it's about finding other media channels that I know crypto people are on, and talk to them in a place that no one's talking to them about it, because you're going to have more of their attention, right? And we already started to do that, and I think that's the result that we're seeing now in the price movement.
Yeah. What do you here? Here's an interesting question, because I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
anyone really asked it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think, since you're kind of like the marketing expert, what do you think of the marketing in the space in crypto and in blockchain? And we always see really interesting advertisements every once in a while, and really creative stuff. But we don't. I don't know. I feel like sometimes there's a lack of good marketing, and I think there's just a lot of hype-driven stuff, and people getting confused, and some false advertising, but not like solid marketing in the space, or trying to build a
But
project or a company.
yeah, not to dog anyone. It's just
Hmm.
it's they use typical e-commerce type tactics, right? It's I'm selling this product, let me advertise this product, and I'm going to put this all over the place, and let me get some affiliate marketing behind it, and let me buy some banner ads, and and that's all stuff we Aldrin will need to do as well, right?
Hmm.
There's certain things that are inside the box that need to be done. It's the outside the box that I think I'm going to bring to the space that hasn't been seen before in this space, right? And it makes sense that it's like that. I mean, we're maturing as an industry, and you have a lot of very tech people involved in marketing decisions. So things are going to be based on tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where my ultimate thing is always like, why does this matter to people? Why are we gonna click? Of course, we still need to do the in the box things, but the bigger things that we'll put real money behind, it's gonna be, does this matter? Do people care, right? Um, and that's what we're going to bring, and it's very different than what's there, and it makes sense. I think crypto's at a time where the maturity, it's time to take it to a new level, not just in user experience, but in the way we market, in the way we understand our consumer, or our community. Um, that hasn't been done yet.
I agree. I want to see more commercials. Those have been the best. I've seen
Hmm.
very few crypto commercials, but when they come out, they're hilarious.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I
I,
want a Super Bowl crypto commercial.
I saw a grayscale one, which I actually liked. Right.
Hmm.
So I think some of those are doing well, but is Grayscale a crypto company? Not really, right? It's kind of,
Not
or
quite.
it's in a Grayscale is in a gray area, whether it's
Mm.
crypto or not, right? Um, and what we have planned, I think will make a lot of noise. Like, we are going to make Aldrin a real. There's going to be a real embodiment of that person.
Hmm.
Uh, we're getting some really talented Hollywood people working on what that looks like. Um, and I think it'll call a lot of attention and create a lot of engagement in how we're planning to use it.
That sounds very exciting. Looking
Hmm.
forward to seeing what you guys do with it. It'll be really cool. Did you have
Yeah,
any experience in crypto before you got to Aldrin? Like, did you
yeah.
work with anyone else prior? Did you ever buy a Bitcoin, or what was your level of understanding?
My story is pretty crazy. I got involved in 2012. I was really early,
Hmm.
and I bought it, and I said to myself, this might be worth something someday. I grabbed $400, bought Bitcoin. It was like 36 Bitcoin that I bought.
Oh,
Put it on a phone, and then factory reset my phone and gave it to my godchild to use because he broke his phone and forgot that I had the money on it. Right after that happened, I was like, okay, let me start actually looking into crypto and understanding it better. And that's when I got the Mt. Gox thing happened.
hmm.
There was another one that isn't talked about, and I think was actually just as bad as Mt. Gox was. There used to be a company called Gall Miners who made a lot of the mining equipment, and they launched something called the Hashlet, which was like a cloud computing. It was like the first cloud computing miner,
Hmm.
and they were getting like 1 million, 2 million a day in investment. And then someone realized, like, there's no way they have a warehouse with this much capacity. Something's wrong. SEC investigated. It was complete scam. I lost the money that I put into that. So I went through the whole Wild West, right? But I
Hmm.
kept going. I kept going back because I understood how this actually changed, how this eventually would change society, right? So, um, yeah, I've always been interested. I never got really deep into DeFi until now. It's just been, your basic, a little bit more than average user knowledge, but with a ton of stories of, the Wild Wild West days, um, in there. I think it's a very different place today, right? I think it's a lot more professional in that aspect, and there's not so many things we need to worry about as we did in the early days.
Did you ever get that Bitcoin back, or is that like gone?
That's gone.
Oh, man, that's tough.
Yeah, I
That's so
got plenty
tough.
more after, so it's okay. But that
Okay,
would have been the cheapest entry I would have had.
that would have been pretty cool.
Hmm.
I've been there, especially with exchange hacks. I remember I bought like 400 or 500 Litecoin at one point, and I had a
Hmm.
bunch of Bitcoin too. I don't remember how much on some exchange because it was like the only exchange I could really figure out how to use, and Coinbase really wasn't around at the time. And
Hmm.
bought it, held it on there. About a month later, they got shut down for money laundering. I'm like, well, guess that got laundered away. I guess that's gone. Never saw that again. Learned my
Yeah,
lesson with exchanges and not to just trust them, especially when they're brand new or they don't have any kind of backing or anything like that. It's just you're just
yeah,
asking to lose it or have it get stolen or whatever. And then I do remember buying like a whole bunch of Ethereum at like $7, like three and a half years ago on Coinbase. That was
Yeah.
probably my best decision I've ever made.
I, yeah, congrats. It's great. I, I was a Bitcoin maximalist until, you know, until 2017. I just didn't see anything else. I thought that was it. Didn't understand why these competitors were coming on.
Hmm.
And then as you get much deeper into the space, and you start to realize there's just different use cases. And, if you want to compare it to currency, there's a reason that there's a dollar, and there's a reason there's a euro, and there's a reason there's a yen. Um, and they can coexist. And that's when I kind of changed my perspective. So good on you. I hated ETH for a long time, not because anything was wrong with it. It was just it was money was going there instead of Bitcoin, and I didn't like it.
No, I
But
feel you. I mean, I know people that kind of felt like that too. For me, it was just like, okay, what else can you do with Bitcoin? Like it's built on this new technology. No one was really talking about it. They're just like, oh, look, Bitcoin, magical internet money, it just exists, and that's all you need to know. And I'm like, but
mhm,
why? What is the technology underneath it? And if it wasn't for
yeah,
Ethereum, taking advantage of that and proving that you could do more with it, we wouldn't even have this market. So
yeah,
I'm kind of glad that I at least put a little money into that, and that a lot of other people saw the potential. So I give Ethereum credit for all that, but no,
yeah,
it's not where my heart is. It's definitely with Bitcoin.
yeah. It's a kind of a sweetheart for most people, right? It was the first. We want to see it do well.
Yeah, and we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. That's the best marketing ever. It's like this unknown creator. He could be anybody. He or she could be anybody. We don't know
Yeah.
that. It could be a group. It
So
could be a.
psychologically, marketing wise, it was needed, right?
Hmm.
Because um, you needed to have this mysterious figure because anyone against it would have been easy to crack the image of a person.
Hmm.
And since there wasn't a person, it was perfect for the way it grew, right? Um, you kind of need that image.
Yeah, what better for a decentralized technology than to have literally nobody there at
Hmm.
all to be the face of it? That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. I think this is a fairly good place to wrap up. But before we
Mhm.
do, is there anything regarding Aldrin in terms of like timeline stuff or roadmap stuff coming up that you think people should keep an eye out for or be aware of that you guys have already put out there, or what do you want people to
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I think with Aldrin, Aldrin itself is a month old, 2 months old,
Hmm.
right? CCAI, the ICO happened in May, right?
Hmm.
So it's fairly new. We're not on Coin Market Cap yet, even. We're just unknown, right? But this team has impressed me so much because they're just lightning fast at adding stuff. Like we added a rebalancer, right? No one has a rebalancer. So let's say you have a decentralized wallet, you have, you know, 20 tokens in your wallet, and you want to readjust your allocation. You just go there and move some bars over and hit go, and it's done, right? So we keep trying to simplify things and create more powerful tools so that you're more successful, right? And that's at the end, that's our main mission. And if you look on Twitter comments about Aldrin, it's always about, wow, I love your user experience. Wow, I love your UX. Um, and now it's about not just the UX, where much of the focus has been. Now it's about all the different tools, right? And I don't want to mention tools that are coming up because although we've launched things fairly quickly, things do get copied very quickly as well. So let us launch it first and then let everyone else catch up. But we are definitely launching things that the market has not seen. Um, and it's not that they couldn't do it themselves, but how long would it take you to rebalance your wallet with 20 tokens? Like, take a guess.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go in. I'd think about it, and I'd have to shift things around, push buttons, and pull levers, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, do an Excel and do everything else, and it'll probably take you, even if you're really fast, it might take you an hour, right? And this take you seconds. So how do we bring the banking experience to DeFi, and create more powerful tools than are used today? And that's kind of our mission. And as we get known, I think more people will understand what we're trying to do.
I love it. Very excited what you guys are doing at Aldrin.
Thank
Joah,
you.
thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast and, explain Aldrin. I know I've had Hisham on and CCAI before, but it's really cool getting to talk to you and getting to see it rebranded and the changes and stuff going forward. So, again, thank you for coming on and elaborating on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon.
You're
And
welcome.
remember, you ever in Lisbon, hit me up.
I'm on my way.
I'll show
You let me know.
All right.
All right. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Welcome.